Hello and welcome to the podcast. This is Ron's Amazing Stories, where we play tales to take you away from today. Shout it from the mountaintops. I love this show. It is a good one. Now, I guess I have to say that, but experts agree this might be the best show I've done this week.
What? Wow!
No, really, it's true. We have a World War II story that could have been torn right from the newspaper pages. We have a Harry Harrison tale that could be just what you need to get your science project off the ground. And to start this wondrous thing off, we have this 5-minute mystery.
Another 5-minute mystery.
This 5-minute mystery is being brought to you by Major League Baseball. There are 137 left-handed pitchers and 354 right-handed pitchers currently in the MLB. Baseball does interesting facts about interesting things. That's why we Americans love baseball.
Dr. Greenwood speaking.
Oh, Dr. Greenwood. Dr. Greenwood, this is Mrs. Barnes.
Yes?
Something horrible has happened. My husband...
What's happened to him? He seemed well this morning.
The medicine you left. He's killed himself with it.
Oh, Dr. Greenwood.
Where's your mistress?
Well, Mrs. Barnes is upstairs in her bedroom. She's taken this very badly, Doctor.
Isn't there anyone with her?
No. Mrs. Barnes only phoned you and Mr. Graham.
Graham.
Speedy Graham. He's the manager of the Blue Sox, the baseball team. Mr. Barnes pitched for them.
Oh, where's his body?
Well, right in this next room, sir. Won't you step this way?
Has anyone been in here since Mr. Barnes died?
Well, no, sir. That is...
Sorry, Dr. Greenwood, that I couldn't be here to greet you.
I understand completely, Miss Barnes.
I'm still hardly able to think clearly.
Please, try to tell me what happened.
Well, after you left this morning, Mr. Barnes became very difficult.
You mean about the injections I told you to give him?
Yes. He thought that I wouldn't know how to handle the hypodermic. He begged me to send for you.
And then? Then what happened?
Well, I came in about 2 this afternoon. Right into this room, I saw him putting the hypodermic needle into his own arm. His face was contorting with pain.
Yes?
I cried out to him. He slumped to the ground, pale as a ghost. And a few minutes later, he was dead. Look, you can still see the mark of the needle there on his left arm.
Yes, so you can. So you can.
Oh, answer that, please, Gertrude. It's probably Speedy. Said he'd be over as soon as he could make it.
You say, Mrs. Barnes, that your husband became very pale?
Yes. And, oh, please, Dr. Greenwood, don't make me describe it to you again. It was too horrible.
Mrs. Barnes, I don't know what to say. It's been a great shock.
Oh, thank you, Speedy. I know how you feel.
Mr. Graham, do you know of any reason why Mr. Barnes would have wanted to take his own life?
Why, no, sir, I can't think of any. Always seemed happy to me. Excepting for this last spell, always had good health, made good money. Why, he was the best southpaw in the business.
I see.
Mrs. Barnes, you've had a hard few hours. Why don't you rest while I take care of the details?
Mr. Graham, I don't think I'd wasted any sympathy with Mrs. Barnes. I'm going to have her arrested on the charge of murdering her husband.
Why does Dr. Greenwood accuse Mrs. Barnes of murdering her husband? In a moment, the doctor will tell you himself, but first...
Okay, I think I have this one. If you are a southpaw in baseball, that puts you in the minority. If you're already in the minority, then what are the odds that you will kill yourself as well? That must be how the doctor knows this was a murder. It was the left arm that tipped me off. Now, let's go back and see if I'm a righty. Man, I cracked myself up.
And now, let's see if your observation is as keen as Dr. Greenwood.
Well, to tell you the truth, I was puzzled in the beginning. I couldn't understand how he could have killed himself with a harmless preparation that I'd prescribed.
But how did you connect Mrs. Barnes to the murder?
Her story and the telltale needle mark on his left arm. You see, Barnes was a southpaw, a left-handed pitcher. If he had really given himself the needle, the mark would have been on the right arm.
This 5-Minute Mystery was brought to you by Major League Baseball, where there are left-handed pitchers and right-handed pitchers. What is amazing is none of them had anything to do with this murder mystery. But hey, that's why we Americans love our baseball. Hey guys, I have reached a decision on the website issue, and I will be moving Ron's Amazing Stories to a new home. The good news is this will not affect the podcast in any way. We will not have a disruption in the service, publishing dates, or content. However, those of you that subscribe to the show via email will no longer get updates. I cannot say when the email service will be back online. Also, none of this will take place until I establish a new home. So, until then, we'll just limp along. By the way, since we lost the email list back in December, there are currently only 5 email subscribers, and I promise to keep you guys updated personally. I love history, and our story today plays out like it could have been an historical event from World War II. And that really shouldn't come as any surprise, because when this story was broadcast, the war was surging on and wouldn't end until about a year later. If I had to compare our story to something, I would say it's a cross between Casablanca and the Judgment at Nuremberg. It is a war story set in a neutral city where both the Allies and Nazis mix. There are some neat twists and turns to the plot, and it is an exciting tale, well written and performed. It is called Dateline Lisbon, and it stars John Hodiak. Hodiak first caught the eye of director Alfred Hitchcock and emerged as a major movie star in the film Lifeboat in 1944. Now, if you haven't seen that film or read the Steinbeck novel, I highly recommend them both. Anyway, here is Dateline Lisbon from the folks at Roma Wines, and it first aired on October 5th, 1944.
Suspense! Tonight, Dateline Lisbon, starring John Hodiak.
Suspense is presented for your enjoyment by Roma Wines. That's R-O-M-A, Roma Wines. Those excellent California wines that can add so much pleasantness to the way you live, to your happiness in entertaining guests, to your enjoyment of everyday meals. Yes, right now, a glassful would be very pleasant as Roma Wines bring you Suspense.
This is the man in black, here for the Roma Wine Company of Fresno, California, who tonight from Hollywood bring you a star, the rising new film personality whose performance you admired in Lifeboat, and whom you will soon be seeing co-starring with Lana Turner in MGM's Marriage is a Private Affair, Mr. John Hodiak. For our suspense play this evening, we ask you to project time into the not-too-distant future. And so with Dateline Lisbon, and with the performance of John Hodiak as William Baldwin, we again hope to keep you in suspense.
Your name?
William Baldwin.
Occupation?
I was a foreign correspondent.
At the time, that is, of the murder with which you were charged?
Around that time, yes.
I see. Now, Mr. Baldwin, would you be good enough to tell the court where you were on October the 5th, 1944?
I was in Lisbon, Portugal.
Can't you be more specific?
Look, when you say I was in Lisbon during the invasion, you've told most of your story right there. You know the place.
Yes, we know it. I should say that at one time or another during the course of the war, most of us here had occasion to pass through that port.
That was the big way station, all right. The neutral terminal for the boys who worked for the Allies, those lined up with the Axis. You'd see a crowd from the Soviet, anxious to get back to the Eastern Front and the sound of the Internationale. You'd see right behind them, maybe, a delegation of Nazis.
Glad to be away from any front and sick of the horsed whistle song. The lads from London with their briefcases and striped trousers and ruled Britannia very clear in their ears. They were there, too. So were the guys from Warsaw. Their clothes getting a little threadbare, but the Polonaise sounding as fresh and strong as it did 4 years before. And the French. Not the Vichy'ites, but the ones who might be at the very next table, the free ones, who never stopped hearing La Marseillaise. Brass hats, underground agents, refugees, and heels. That was Lisbon. It was about 5 or 6 in the evening when I walked into the lobby of the Hotel de Gama. You know the place, right in the center of town. Anyway, I happened to glance up and I saw this girl standing about midway on that big marble staircase that leads down from the mezzanine. She had a Leica camera up to her face and was drawing a bead on the whole lobby.
No, pare, señorita.
Suddenly, a little fella yelled up to her to stop. And as he did, a fat guy standing at the desk whipped around. He spotted the girl, too. The next second, he was the scaredest-looking character I'd ever seen. He whirled back, away from the camera, but she'd already clicked the shutter. In another second, I got a shock myself. The girl lowered the camera from her face and... yeah, it had to be her. She came down the staircase, winding up the film in the Leica, then started across the lobby, and I was sure it was Terry. I hadn't seen her since I'd left New York, but you couldn't mistake that stride, not even after all those years. I walked across the lobby to her, but the little guy, the one who yelled, had a head start.
If you say so, senor. But I haven't the faintest idea what you're talking about.
Ah, American. 3,000 pardons, Mrs. I simply wish to apologize for my outburst. Clearly, it was...
Outburst? I'm sorry, senor, but I don't get it, even in English.
It was when you were on the staircase. He yelled at you.
At me? But what on earth for?
I don't think he wanted you to take that picture.
Are you serious? Why should... No.
Hello, Terry.
Bill Baldwin. It must be...
12 years.
I didn't mean that. I mean, since I've even heard about you.
I've heard about you, though. You've been doing all right.
I've been busy.
Terry Moore covers the Burma front. Terry Moore turns candid camera on Allied leaders. Terry Moore shoots Parade Magazine Picture of the Week. You've been getting more publicity than Hitler.
I work for a better concern. Bill, what on earth are you doing here? There's so much...
We're being rude to your little friend.
Oh, excuse me, senor. You objected to my taking the picture?
Oh, no, Mrs. Not at all. That is the point I wish to clear up. Oh, permit me. I am Don Luis Fernando Sanchez Jesus de la Castellano Cristobal, the third.
How do you do?
But my friends call me Mosca.
I can understand why.
Yes. Mrs., I should very much like to buy that picture.
Buy it?
Precisely.
Well, that won't be necessary. I happen to have a developing outfit upstairs in my room. I'll run you off a copy myself. That's in case you can't wait till you see it in the magazine.
The magazine? This picture you took, will be published?
Oh, yes. Simply a shot to display the color of the city, the hotel.
Oh, I see. Mrs., this may at first appear to be a somewhat extraordinary request. The fact is, I am a great admirer of your work, and I wondered if perhaps...
You could have the original, the negative.
Well, yes, senor, I did have that in mind. Oh, do not be concerned. I'm quite prepared to go as high as, let us say, $5,000 in cash.
Oh, come now.
Well, then let us say 10.
What is this, a rib?
Oh, no, Mrs. It is an offer.
$10,000? You know something, senor? You're insane. But I'm not, and I'll take it.
Wait a second, Terry. I don't think I'd do that.
Forgive me, but my proposition was the Mrs. only.
You could have put it more plainly.
Now, listen, you don't think he wants to pay a silly price like that for just a good view of the lobby? He could get that on one of those penny postcards around here.
I don't care what he wants it for. All I know...
You don't care what he wants it for because you don't even know what's in it. For all you know, you've got the hottest picture of your whole career right in that camera of yours.
Mrs., it is necessary that we complete the trade without any further discussion.
$10,000 in exchange for the negative.
That is correct.
If you don't mind, senor, perhaps I had better think it over for a while.
Oh, I'm afraid that will not be possible. The offer is good only now.
Then, adios, senor.
Well, let us trust you are making no mistake. Hasta la vista, Mrs. Buenas noches, senor.
Well, was that stupid enough to suit you? $10,000 right down the drain.
How'd you like to make 50?
What?
I said, how'd you like to make $50,000?
Hmm?
There's another guy around here who'd go for that negative. A fat fella. He was standing over there by the desk, right in the center of your camera when you clicked the shutter.
I never saw any...
I did. And I saw him try to dodge. From where I was standing, it looked like a $50,000 dodge, too.
Why, you rot. You were holding out for a bigger price, a bigger cut for you, I suppose.
Do you believe that?
Oh, I don't know. After all, I haven't much to go on, have I? 12 years is a long time. How do I know what you're like now? What you've become?
I mentioned the fat man, Terry, because I think that picture's more important than you'll be willing to believe.
Bill, listen to me. I want to know what happened to you. Your articles, your pieces about Europe, they just stopped. So did your letters.
Well, there's something you've got to understand, Terry.
Your pardon, please. Senorita Moore?
Yes, I'm Terry Moore.
Yes, you are wanted at the front desk, please.
Front desk? What for?
I do not know, senorita. If you will follow me.
Want me to hold your camera?
Thanks, but I think I'll feel better taking care of it myself.
Okay, Terry. Hurry back. I'll be right here waiting for you. I'd been standing there about a minute, gentlemen, when I looked up and saw the fat guy. He stepped out of one of the lobby phone booths and headed for the cocktail lounge. I didn't want to lose track of him, so I followed. Pretty soon out came Terry. She had a funny look on her face.
Okay, so you're right, and I hope you're satisfied.
What happened? Get a better offer?
Yes, my life.
Your life?
In return for leaving my camera on the third floor fire escape within the next 20 minutes, I shall be permitted to go on living. Otherwise...
No, don't sit down. Who told you all that?
I don't know.
That's a silly remark. You don't know.
The call was waiting for me at the desk. It was somebody on the other end of the telephone.
Oh. Excuse me. My friend. You at the table.
Stone deaf.
And am Tisch dort. Gestatten Sie?
Well, how did you learn to speak?
Ja, jawohl.
Mind if we join you?
Bedauere, ich spreche kein Englisch.
Sound like the voice on the telephone?
How can I tell if he doesn't speak English? What did he say?
He said he doesn't speak English.
Oh.
Wait a second. Excuse me, pal, but I'd like you to meet the young lady you talked to on the phone. She,
Now, können Sie nicht sehen, dass ich beschäftigt
You better
bin?
speak English. Every time she hears German, she goes to pieces. Creates a terrific scene.
You will be good enough to leave me alone. I do not wish your company.
Thank you. What about that, Terry?
I'm pretty sure that's it.
Good. Have a seat. Oh, that's all right. Don't get up here. I don't believe I caught your name.
Look, if you do not leave at once, I shall call the manager.
I'll be glad to do it for you. You know, my friend, now that I've got a good look at you, I can't help feeling I've seen you before somewhere.
Yes. Yes, I was thinking the same thing.
Medius Fräulein, you are very much mistaken.
Oh, not with photographs, I'm not. I've studied too many of them. And that's where I've seen you, in a photograph.
Now, let me tell you something. You have never seen me before. That's my advice to you.
Except that there's something different. The clothes, I think. The white collar. Yes.
You're right, Terry. The civilian clothes. I've got them spotted, too. And not in a photograph. I'm going by a man I've seen 100 times. At the head of a parade, on a dais in a public square.
Now, listen.
In the back seat of an open touring car with guards on either side.
You are a fool. I tell you for a fact, you are a fool.
You see, I used to cover Poland for a number of American papers. And you granted me an interview once.
Bill, he isn't...
The general?
No,
Yes. General von Klaus, one of the most prolific executioners the Fuhrer ever had.
What stupid people you must be. Why did you not stop when I advised you? Don't you see? There's nothing I can do now except take the Fräulein's camera and kill the two of you.
Now, look, I happen to have a gun, too, so you can put that thing away. Anyway, you're not crazy enough to kill us here.
No, senor. He is not that crazy.
Mosca.
You will please put the gun away.
But I must
You will
insist.
put the gun out of sight. So, you will now follow me from this room.
No, I will not leave these people and permit them to.
Why? Do you want to bring everyone to this table? Do you wish a special spotlight for yourself?
Oh, listen to me. I am the one in danger.
I am the one in charge. You will do as I tell you to do.
Or you won't get him out of Europe?
You see, he knows.
All right, shut the mouth.
What are you charging him, Mosca? Every cent he ever stole? It's worth it, you know. If the Poles knew this character was here, they'd tear him limb from limb.
You talk a great deal, senor. Von Klaus, you will please get up from the chair. You must understand that nothing can be accomplished so long as we are here. We shall continue our negotiations with these charming people at some other time and place.
At the German embassy, let's say?
No, I...
How would you like that, Head General?
My friends, you first must get to the embassy. Again, Mrs. Hasta la vista and adios, senor.
The German embassy, Bill. But he's a Nazi, a big one.
That's right, and he's also taking it on the lam. The final squeeze is about to begin, and the general's deserting his post. The Germans would kill him as soon as the Poles.
Yes, that's why he can't afford to have us talk.
And Mosca can't afford to lose his feet.
Oh, Bill, what'll we do? You heard what he said. They'll be watching every exit for the rest of the night.
Good. Meanwhile, we'll go dancing.
Dancing?
Yep. Across the floor to that door on the other side of the band. And we're going to slip through that door, up the service stairs, and into your room.
My room?
That's right. And you're going to develop the general's picture.
Tonight, for suspense, Roma Wines are bringing you as star Mr. John Hodiak, whom you have heard in the prologue to Dateline Lisbon by Harold Medford. Tonight's tale of suspense.
Yes, it is true that our own wonderful vineyard country in California produces in Roma wines that discriminating people in many foreign lands esteem as an imported delicacy. Yet you here at home can enjoy these distinguished Roma wines for mere pennies a glassful. Daily with your meals or when entertaining or any time, you can delight yourself and your guests with the wonderful taste that comes from age-old winemaking traditions perfected by modern knowledge. For a treat you are certain to enjoy, place on the table with dinner tomorrow night a cool bottle of hearty, rich red Roma California Burgundy. It doesn't matter what the meal is or what kind of glasses you use to serve Roma. It's good in any glass with any meal. Your family, your guests, will find new pleasure in even the simplest foods, for Roma wine makes any meal a feast at only pennies a glass. Try it yourself tomorrow. Ask your dealer for R-O-M-A, Roma wine. Remember, more Americans enjoy Roma than any other wine.
And now it is with pleasure that we bring back to our sound stage Mr. John Hodiak as William Baldwin, a man on trial before a jury of his peers in Dateline Lisbon, a tale well calculated to keep you in suspense.
You were testifying, Mr. Baldwin, that you and the young lady started up for her room.
That's right. The rear way, up the service stairs.
I see. Mr. Baldwin, since you've already admitted the murder, are you sure there's a need for such detail?
I wanted you to have your record straight. There isn't much more of it, though.
Very well. And so you got the girl up to her room, eh?
Yes. I remember very clearly. We stepped into her room. I shoved the bolt across the door. She switched on the light. And she went straight for her developing stuff. A tray, an MQ tube, the hypo, the usual paraphernalia, and went to work. I knew what was in her mind. She was going to develop that picture and get out of there as fast as she possibly could. She was scared, I guess. Then while I stood there watching her, she stopped. For about half a minute, stared into space.
Bill.
What is it, Terry?
You haven't said anything about going home, going back to America. You've been over here so long,
Yeah. Say, you'll want those lights off when you start to develop that thing, won't you?
Yes.
Well, give me the signal when you're ready, huh?
I think I'm ready now.
Okay.
Bill, there's something I've got... What's that?
What's what?
That noise, then.
Oh, I was just trying the door to be sure it was locked. Little jumpy, aren't you? I wouldn't be. There's not a soul who can get to you, Terry. So just relax. You were asking me something.
Yes, Bill. What are you doing here?
In Lisbon?
Yes.
I'm waiting. I've been waiting for months.
You mean to get home?
I can't go back to America, Terry. I'm on the list. I was surprised you didn't know that.
Oh, no.
Yeah, I've been waiting for a chance to escape. Your hunch is right. I stayed over here too long. I lost the feel of my country and the sense of what she was. And when they got around to repatriating the correspondence, I elected to stay behind. I'd been inoculated, Terry. I had the germ. So help me, I went for that spiel about the new order of things.
But you could... You don't mean you worked for them?
I worked for them. There were 1,000 things a guy in my position could help them with.
And now that the heat's on, now that the walls are beginning to melt, you're making your getaway.
That's right.
Before the courts come to session and the sentences are handed out. A traitor. A coward. You and Von Klaus, you're cowards, both of you. You're two of a kind.
Yeah, we ought to make fine traveling companions. South America, I imagine. Oh, he and Mosca don't know it yet, but that's how it's going to work. You see, the way I look at it, if Mosca can arrange an escape for Von Klaus, he can certainly arrange one for me.
You got the money to pay for it, huh?
No, but I've got the picture. Your picture. If that thing's published and if the story gets out, the Senor's Underground Railroad is dead. He'll make a deal for that picture, all right. Let's not worry about that.
No, Bill. Surely you understand I'm going to tell this story, every part of it.
Oh, I was afraid you'd feel that way. I'll have to make sure you don't.
Oh, I see. All right. But you're not going to get this.
Terry, get away from that picture.
The door. Somebody's opened the door.
Baldwin, the picture. Do you have it?
Von Klaus.
It's safe, General. And put away. You'll find the light switch there by the door, left side.
And Mosca. But that door was locked. How did you open it?
We didn't, Mrs. We opened this door.
The closet. Then you were there all the time. You were listening.
We were there when you entered the room.
And you've already heard my proposition. What do you say, Mosca? Is it a deal?
But of course, senor, of course. And now, if you will turn over the photograph. Yes, senor?
You get the photograph when I'm on my way with Von Klaus with the right kind of passport and tickets. Incidentally, how soon can you get me those? I'm in something of a rush.
I understand, senor. Would tomorrow...
Let's say tonight, in about 30 minutes, in the lobby. Look, why the hesitation? It's very simple. I've got the photograph and I've got a gun. What'll it be?
You must know the answer, senor. It is a deal.
Okay. You can leave now. I've got some work to do.
Very well. It shall be as you say, senor. 30 minutes from now in the lobby. Von Klaus?
There is just one thing unsettled.
Yes?
The Fräulein. Now, for the sake of security of all, I must insist she be silenced at once.
You don't have to insist. I'm taking care of it myself.
Now, you understand, Herr Baldwin. In my present situation, I must be very sure of things.
Yeah, sure. Meanwhile, I told you to clear out of here.
Not till the Fräulein is silent.
Don't be stupid. This isn't the time for that or the place either. We can't...
No? Then why did you select this time, senor? And also select this place?
Yeah. We heard you only a minute ago, preparing to shoot this girl.
No.
Then why do you delay, Herr Baldwin? Why do you not proceed?
That gun again? Come on, General, put it away.
For what reason? What does it matter whose weapon we use? And, why don't you make me put it away?
He has no weapon.
Bill.
He has no weapon.
I think you better make sure. Go on, he's covered.
Your arms, senor. Hold them away, so. There's nothing there.
And now I like to know, Herr Baldwin, how you expected to kill the Fräulein if you did not have a gun.
Very simple. He did not expect to kill her. Nothing in that pocket.
Then why did he say...
Why? Because he heard the noise from the closet and he knew that we were here. You remember the moment, Mrs., he said he was trying the door? He knew we had guessed you would come to this room. He knew we were here to finish you both. He was playing for time. He was bluffing.
And about the Nazis, about escaping.
Lies, a stupid fable to hold us off. Is that not so, senor? Is not everything I say the truth, huh?
You're an awfully little guy to talk so big.
Oh, I can afford to talk big, senor. I am sure now that you have no gun.
You are, huh?
What's that? What did it? What are you doing?
Turn loose of him, Baldwin. I'll fire.
Go of me.
That's it. Oh. Just face Von Klaus.
Oh.
There. You see, right in his hand. There's my gun, senor. Okay, General, go on and fire.
No, wait.
Go on. And the way I'm lined up now, your bullet will go straight through Mosca first.
Stop moving, Mosca.
He will seize the gun. He will... Oh!
No. Now listen to me. Listen, I'll say to you now, Baldwin. If you do not release him in exactly 5 minutes, I shall shoot the Fräulein dead.
Go on.
Oh.
Meanwhile, I'll work on Mosca. It'll take not quite more than 5 minutes to strangle him. And you'll have plenty of time to fire. But the chances are great you'll hit him.
Are you
And he's your only means of escape.
Take your hands from his throat.
Your one single lifeline, von Klaus. He's the only guy who knows the ropes and his time is running out.
Now, wait, listen. We can make some arrangements.
All right, von Klaus, put your gun on the table. We'll go on from there.
No, the gun, no.
Your life's going fast, von Klaus. The one man who can save your neck's getting pretty limp. Put your gun on the table.
Whatever else you listen, money, what is it, your prize? How much? Oh, my God, stop. There. It's on the table now. Let him go, Baldwin. Please, let him go.
Terry, the gun.
Yes. Here, Bill. Here it is.
Thanks. He'll be okay in a minute.
But the gun, what are you?
Never mind that. Just tell me your full name.
I do not understand what...
Answer the question. What's your full name?
Maximilian Reinhard von Klaus.
Occupation?
What do you know?
Occupation, I said. What's your occupation?
I was divisional commander of police for the district of Warsaw in Poland.
At the time, that is, of the slaughter.
The slaughter?
The mass executions of May 9th in the year 1940. When your men at your order went into the homes of those who weren't cooperative enough and machine-gunned the women and children.
What is this?
You're standing trial for murder.
Standing trial for... You are mad. There can be no trial. There's no judge.
I'm the judge, von Klaus, and those two the jury. Terry Moore and Mosca.
But our arrangements, you said if I put the gun on the table...
I turned loose of your little pal. Well, I did. That was our only arrangement. And now I want to know how you plead, guilty or not guilty, for the execution of those families.
Those families? How would I know those families?
You wouldn't know, but I would. That's been my business all these years. Gathering the names of victims. Keeping records on murderers like you.
Baldwin, wait. Give me a chance.
A chance? Those Poles didn't even have a trial. You had them shot in cold blood without even passing sentence. But you're getting all of that, von Klaus. You're really getting the works.
But you must understand, those measures are... Look, I will show you. It's a matter of administration.
Did you or did you not have those people killed?
I'm trying to explain to you. It was military expediency, the entire procedure. It's part of the war. It had to be done, I'll tell you.
In other words, you did.
Yes, but...
That's all I wanted to hear. Your verdict, Terry, what is it?
I say the man is guilty.
Mosca's not able to vote right now, so I'll have to do it for him. And I say you're guilty, von Klaus. So for the crime of multiple murder, I sentence you to death.
No!
And may God have mercy on your soul.
Gentlemen of the jury, the commission of murder has been very plainly established. So in the case of the World Democracies versus the defendant, William Baldwin, what will your verdict be?
Your Honor, we find the defendant guilty. And direct that he be freed at once to receive the court's commendation.
Thank you, gentlemen. In view of the somewhat irregular circumstances, we see no reason to dissent. There is, however, a question. We know, of course, that this Mosca has been imprisoned since the collapse of the Axis powers. But that picture, Mr. Baldwin, Terry Moore's photograph of von Klaus, whatever became of that?
Oh, well, ever since we've been married, it's the one thing I don't dare mention. She's pretty touchy about it.
Yes? But you did develop it finally.
Oh, sure, and it was, well, sir, the thing was just a blur.
And so closes Dateline Lisbon, starring John Hodiak. Tonight's study in suspense. Suspense is produced and directed by William Spear.
If you are one who does not yet know how much and how delightfully Roma wines can add to your meals, well, let me urge you not to miss out any longer on such a treat as this. There's nothing complicated about it. Just get and serve Roma wine with meals or any time in any kind of glass you wish. Try the many different kinds of Roma wine until you find those you like best of all. Try Roma California Sherry with its wonderful nut-like flavor as an appetizer. Then hearty Roma Burgundy or the deliciously delicate Roma Sauterne with the meal. These superb wines make even the simplest meal a feast. Yet they cost you only pennies a glassful. Get some tomorrow. And if your dealer is temporarily out of Roma, please try again soon. Ask for ROMA, Roma wines. Remember, more Americans enjoy Roma than any other wine. Our government wishes us to pass along to you an important reminder. Winter is just around the corner, a winter in which every kind of fuel for home heating will be extremely scarce. It is to your essential interest to ensure fuel savings right now. Arrange for your fuel supply immediately. Check all your heating equipment now. If possible, protect yourself against loss of heat by seeing to proper insulation, storm sash, and weather stripping. If you don't prepare now for heavier weather, you may be in for a cold, uncomfortable winter.
Next Thursday, same time, you will hear Mr. Reginald Gardiner as star of Suspense.
Presented by Roma Wines, ROMA. Made in California for enjoyment throughout the world. This is CBS, the Columbia Broadcasting System.
Wasn't that a good one? Like I said at the top, I love history. And at the time this story was broadcast, the war was raging on. Germany was beginning to lose more battles than they won, but the Japanese had just launched a brand new supercarrier into the Pacific. People at home were growing tired of battle, but remained strong, supportive of the Allied efforts. It was an amazing time in history.
As read by amazing stories, read by amazing people.
This time on As Read By, we have a short story called Toy Shop by Harry Harrison. I love this story, and I'm a big fan of Harrison. He wrote one of my favorite science fiction series of books and short stories about the stainless steel rat. I wish I could play more of his works, but alas, very few of them are in the public domain. What I do have is a short he wrote about how to fund your science project. It is called Toy Shop and is read by Corey Samuel.
Toy Shop by Harry Harrison. Because there were few adults in the crowd, and Colonel Biff Horton stood over 6 feet tall, he could see every detail of the demonstration. The children, and most of the parents, gaped in wide-eyed wonder. Biff Horton was too sophisticated to be awed. He stayed on because he wanted to find out what the trick was that made the gadget work. "It's all explained right here in your instruction book," the demonstrator said, holding up a garishly printed booklet opened to a 4-color diagram. "You all know how magnets pick up things, and I bet you even know that the Earth itself is one great big magnet. That's why compasses always point north. Well, the Atomic Wonder Space Wave Tapper hangs on to those space waves. Invisibly, all about us, and even going right through us, are the magnetic waves of the Earth. The Atomic Wonder rides these waves, just the way a ship rides the waves in the ocean. Now watch." Every eye was on him as he put the gaudy model rocket ship on top of the table and stepped back. It was made of stamped metal, and seemed as incapable of flying as a can of ham, which it very much resembled. Neither wings, propellers, nor jets broke through the painted surface. It rested on 3 rubber wheels, and coming out through the bottom was a double strand of thin insulated wire. This white wire ran across the top of the black table and terminated in a control box in the demonstrator's hand. An indicator light, a switch, and a knob appeared to be the only controls. "I turn on the power switch, sending a surge of current to the wave receptors," he said. The switch clicked, and the light blinked on and off with a steady pulse. Then the man began to slowly turn the knob. "A careful touch on the wave generator is necessary, as we are dealing with the powers of the whole world here." A concerted "ah" swept through the crowd as the space wave tapper shivered a bit, then rose slowly into the air. The demonstrator stepped back, and the toy rose higher and higher, bobbing gently on the invisible waves of magnetic force that supported it. Ever so slowly, the power was reduced, and it settled back to the table. "Only $17.95, the young man said, putting a large price sign on the table, for the complete set of the Atomic Wonder, the Space Tapper control box, battery, and instruction book." At the appearance of the price card, the crowd broke up noisily, and the children rushed away towards the operating model trains. The demonstrator's words were lost in their noisy passage, and after a moment he sank into a gloomy silence. He put the control box down, yawned, and sat on the edge of the table. Colonel Horton was the only one left after the crowd had moved on. "Could you tell me how this thing works?" the colonel asked, coming forward. The demonstrator brightened up and picked up one of the toys. "Well, if you will look here, sir." He opened the hinged top. "You will see the space wave coils at each end of the ship." With a pencil, he pointed out the odd-shaped plastic forms, about an inch in diameter, that had been wound, apparently at random, with a few turns of copper wire. Except for these coils, the interior of the model was empty. The coils were wired together, and other wires ran out through the hole in the bottom of the control box. Biff Horton turned a very quizzical eye on the gadget, and upon the demonstrator, who completely ignored this sign of disbelief. "Inside the control box is the battery," the young man said, snapping it open and pointing to an ordinary flashlight battery. "The current goes through the power switch and power light to the wave generator." "What you mean to say," Biff broke in, "is that the juice from this 15-cent battery goes through this cheap rheostat to those meaningless coils in the model, and absolutely nothing happens. Now tell me what really flies the thing. If I'm going to drop $18 for 6 bits worth of tin, I want to know what I'm getting." The demonstrator flushed. "I'm sorry, sir," he stammered. "I wasn't trying to hide anything. Like any magic trick, this one can't really be demonstrated until it's been purchased." He leaned forward and whispered confidentially. "I'll tell you what I'll do, though. This thing is way overpriced and hasn't been moving at all. The manager said I could let them go at $3 if I could find any takers. If you want to buy it for that price—" "Sold, my boy," the colonel said, slamming 3 bills down on the table. "I'll give that much for it, no matter how it works. The boys in the shop will get a kick out of it." He tapped the winged rocket on his chest. "Now, really, what holds it up?" The demonstrator looked round carefully, then pointed. "Strings," he said. "Or rather a black thread. It runs from the top of the model, through a tiny loop in the ceiling, and back down to my hand, tied to this ring on my finger. When I back up, the model rises. It's as simple as that." "All good illusions are simple," the colonel grunted, tracing the black thread with his eye, "as long as there is plenty of flim-flam to distract the viewer." "If you don't have a black table, a black cloth will do," the young man said. "And the arch of a doorway is a good sight. Just see that the room in back is dark." "Wrap it up, my boy. I wasn't born yesterday. I'm an old hand at this kind of thing." Biff Horton sprang it at the next Thursday night poker party. The gang were all missile men, and they cheered and jeered as he hammed up the introduction. "Let me copy the diagram, Biff. I could use some of those magnetic waves in the new bird. Those flashlight batteries are cheaper than locks. This is the thing of the future." Only Teddy Kaner caught wise as the flight began. He was an amateur magician and spotted the gimmick at once. He kept silent with professional courtesy, and smiled ironically as the rest of the bunch grew silent one by one. The Colonel was a good showman, and he had set the scene well. He almost had them believing in the space wave tapper before he was through. When the model had landed and he had switched it off, he couldn't stop them from crowding around the table. "A thread!" one of the engineers shouted, almost with relief, and they all laughed along with him. "Too bad," the head project physicist said. "I was hoping that a little space wave tapping could help us out. Let me try a flight with it." "Teddy Kaner first," Biff announced. "He spotted it while you were all watching the flashing lights, only he didn't say anything." Kaner slipped the ring with the black thread over his finger and started to step back. "You have to turn the switch on first," Biff said. "I know," Kaner smiled, "but that's part of illusion, the spiel and the misdirection. I'm going to try this cold first, so I can get it moving up and down smoothly, then go through it with the whole works." He moved his hand back smoothly, in a professional manner that drew no attention to it. The model lifted from the table, then crashed back down. "The thread broke," Kaner said. "You jerked it instead of pulling smoothly," Biff said, and knotted the broken thread. "Here, let me show you how to do it." The thread broke again when Biff tried it, which got a good laugh that made his collar a little warm. Someone mentioned the poker game. This was the only time that poker was mentioned, or even remembered that night, because very soon after this they found that the thread would lift the model only when the switch was on, and 2.5 volts flowing through the joke coils. With the current turned off, the model was too heavy to lift. The thread broke every time. "I still think it's a screwy idea," the young man said. 1 week getting fallen arches, demonstrating those toy ships for every brat within 1,000 miles, then selling the things for $3 when they must have cost at least $100 apiece to make." "But you did sell the 10 of them to people who would be interested?" the older man asked. "I think so. I caught a few Air Force officers and a colonel in missiles one day. Then there was one official I remembered from the Bureau of Standards. Luckily he didn't recognize me. Then those 2 professors you spotted from the university." "Then the problem is out of our hands and into theirs. All we have to do now is sit back and wait for results." "What results? These people weren't interested when we were hammering on their doors with the proof. We've patented the coils and can prove to anyone that there is a reduction in weight around them when they are operating." "But a small reduction, and we don't know what is causing it. No one can be interested in a thing like that, a fractional weight decrease in a clumsy model, certainly not enough to lift the weight of the generator. No one wrapped up in massive fuel consumption, tons of lift and such, is going to have time to worry about a crackpot who thinks he has found a minor slip in Newton's laws." "You think they will now?" the young man asked, cracking his knuckles impatiently. "I know they will. The tensile strength of that thread is correctly adjusted to the weight of the model. The thread will break if you try to lift the model with it. Yet you can lift the model, after a small increment of its weight has been removed by the coils. This is going to bug these men. Nobody is going to ask them to solve the problem, or concern themselves with it. But it will nag at them, because they know this effect can't possibly exist. They'll see at once that the magnetic wave theory is nonsense. Or perhaps true, we don't know. But they will all be thinking about it, and worrying about it. Someone is going to experiment in his basement, just as a hobby, of course, to find the cause of the error. And he, or someone else, is going to find out what makes those coils work, or maybe a way to improve them. And we have the patents." "Correct. They will be doing the research that will take them out of the massive lift propulsion business and into the field of pure spaceflight." and in doing so they will be making us rich, whenever the time comes to manufacture, the young man said cynically. We'll all be rich, son, the older man said, patting him on the shoulder. Believe me, you're not going to recognize this old world 10 years from now. End of Toy Shop by Harry Harrison.
Pretty good story, I say. I had the pleasure of meeting our author, Harry Harrison, at the historic Powell Books in Portland, Oregon. He was promoting the book The Stainless Steel Rat Returns. I still have my autographed copy, and it is one of my most cherished books. I told him that I loved his books. He looked up at me from the table that he was sitting behind and said, "Ron, I love that you love my books. That's why I write them." I'll never forget that. I hope that you enjoyed this podcast. It is my pleasure to bring it to you each week. Coming up next week, we're going to do something I've never done before, and that is present 3 brand new listener stories in one show. I think it's going to be epic. If you want to keep up with what's happening on Ron's Amazing Stories, please follow us on Twitter, Facebook, or sign up for the weekly newsletter. All the links you're going to need and access to the blog can be found at ronsamazingstories.com. Thank you for listening, and I hope you come again to find out what are Ron's Amazing Stories.
All of the vintage audio used in the podcast is believed to be in the public domain. Ron's Amazing Stories does not own the rights to any of the old-time radio used here. If you hold the rights to any of the shows played, please contact us immediately at ronsamazingstories.com.